Nobody thought you could take an army over the Alps, but Hannibal did. Caught the Romans sleeping and beat them up.
Hello. So, today I'm doing a tag. It's the Historathon tag, Ancient Cultures. So this is a tag that I was tagged in because I'm a co-host for the Historathon readathon event. So I did find a couple of the questions a little bit harder to answer, and one I genuinely can't answer. So that's kind of delayed me a bit. So I'm actually out of the first quarter. So just to kind of quickly go over the Historathon again, it's a year-long event that divides the year into 4 quarters, and they're different periods in history, and we're reading books about those periods of history in those quarters in general. I've actually spilled over into the next quarter with a little bit of something I've been reading, but that's the principle. So in the first quarter, the first 3 months, it was from prehistory to the year 500 AD, and then in the next quarter it was from 500 to 1500, and in the next quarter it's from 1500 to 1820, and then in the last 3 months of the year, it was going to be from 1820 to present day. So that's the idea of the event. And the Rambling Raconteur did a really interesting and clever book tag based around the ancient cultures that you could study if you were looking at prehistory to 500 AD. So that's the prompt for the tag, the idea that it's bouncing off this first quarter's subjects. So I've got the prompts here on my phone. They're long. Usually I just write them quickly down on a bit of paper, but they're long prompts, so I've got my phone. Okay, so the first one is the Romans. What books or writers or genres are your bread and circus? So bread and circus means, you know, you'll go to switch off, to get away from life, just for fun. So for that, there's, well, technically 3 answers. First answer is fantasy. So in general, the science fiction I read, unless it's pulpy, fun, humorous science fiction, it tends to be a little bit more political or sociological commentary in there. Fantasy, you don't really get much of that. So it's definitely escapism. So it could be Fitzlieber Swords books, or it could be the Bulgarian. I'm going to reread this lot soon. So that kind of fantasy. It could be more recent fantasy like Brandon Sanderson stuff, or even the heavy stuff like Joe Abercrombie. Is still escapism because it's not based on reality. And then 2 that I've absolutely loved, Kings of the Wild and Bloody Rose. Absolutely love those books. So that's sort of like, fantasy in general is good escapism for me. Also, sometimes you get these fun science fiction things that are just a load of nonsense, that's just genuine escapism. So that's superheroes fighting zombies. So I think that's a good one. And a really big one, which is I get them out all the time and they are very important to me, is my cartoonist collection. I've said before that I collect cartoonist books, and Greg recently mentioned Gary Larson, and I've got all of Gary Larson's books, and some of them are duplicates and triplicates, and I've also raved about Charles Addams many times. I absolutely love Charles Addams, and I collect books that are based around the New Yorker, so the New Yorker cartoons are always really cool. And a recent cartoonist I discovered was Will McPhail. Absolutely recommend this book. It's fantastic, and he wrote for the New Yorker actually, but he's a British cartoonist. He's fantastic, and you know, there's like Claude Serret, French cartoonist. I've got these little ones, these little Far Side ones. I've got tons of them here, and obviously Gahan Wilson, the genius that is Gahan Wilson. His books are harder to find, but yeah, those are books that definitely help me to escape from my day if I've had a bad day. So bread and circuses, I go with those for the answers for that. Number 2, the Sumerians. What is a work that you read many years ago but still appreciate? So it's a bit of an evergreen one. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So this is a omnibus book of the first 4 books, and it's endlessly entertaining. It doesn't matter how many times you read it, you still love it. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, work of genius. Next one, 3rd question. The Shang. What is your favourite non-example to pillory? So this was a hard one, because basically what it's saying is, what would you be happy to attack, like the pillory where they're throwing stuff at someone in stocks. What would you be happy to publicly shame or attack? And I really struggled to find something that I could answer for that. So I really haven't got an answer. I can't think of a book that I really hate like that. There are books that I like more than others, that I dislike more than others. But to go to that point of linking it to the pillory, I haven't got an answer for that. I apologise. But that is part of the reason why it's been delayed so much. I wanted to give an answer for everything. Number 4, early basket maker. Name an early work that points the way to later monuments. So for that one, I've been reading this recently. Ray Bradbury's Memory of Murder, his early crime stories. And this is what he started doing when he first started writing. And you can tell it's not quite as good as his later stuff, but the magic's there. The Bradbury magic is there. So definitely recommend you read this stuff. And it does actually include The Small Assassin, which is amazing. But this early work is different to the stuff that he eventually gets going with when he does the fantasy and horror and sci-fi stuff. But yeah, really interesting. But you can see the magic in the stories. So that's the answer for that one. Number 5, the Babylonians. What book did you expect to be impenetrable but found quite easy to sink into? Okay. It could be a bit of an overstatement to say I found it easy. But this is a funny one. So this is by Richard Rorty, and it's called Philosophy and Social Hope. This was a book that was recommended to me when I was doing my degree. I was working in Blackwell's at the time, and we had a regular customer who was asking me about how the degree was going. I was telling him what my dissertation was, and he said, "You got to read this book." He thoroughly recommended it. You got to read this book, and I just bought it because I trusted him. I had loads of conversations with him over the counter, and he's a teacher as well. And he was interested in Marxism, which was what my dissertation was about. I thought it was going to be hard, and it was fine. I just get to lock into it. But that was the memory from my degree, Philosophy and Social Hope by Richard Rorty. Okay, next one. Question number 6, the Persians. How do you organise your bookshelves? Right, okay. I did a reshuffle recently, but I'll need to do another reshuffle because I'm not happy with it. But the things I think I'm going to read immediately, I've put here. But there's also a bunch of stuff that I think is going to be read even more immediately, which is down by my computer downstairs. I've got a treasure chest thing over there, which has got my favourite books in it. I've got a bedside table, which has got books in it that I'm supposed to be considering as go-tos to be read quickly, and I completely ignore it. So I don't know what that's about. I need to sort that out. And I've got boxes and boxes of stuff up in the loft. So this is like the main go-to shelves for my books. So when I buy new ones, I tend to put them there. Okay, number 7. Shango bone of Middle Stone Age Central Africa. How does the length of a work affect your reading experience? I tend to avoid huge books. I will read huge books. I have read huge books, and I will do it for if I really think I'm going to like the book. But I'm really impatient. So if I get halfway through, I have a little victory dance in my head. But also as I'm getting towards the end, I really want to finish it, and I get fed up with how big it is. So yeah, I'm not very good at reading really big books, and I don't want to read really tiny books either. You know, I like sort of 300 to 400 pages. But if it goes into the 800 pages or something like that, then I get very impatient and I just want to move on. Number 8, the Huns. How do you read or pack books while travelling? I was actually going to do the travel tag. I think traveling with books tag, I think it's called, which I was going to talk about this in more detail. But basically, I take about 4 books with me when I go on holiday. So it's usually finishing the book I'm reading, and then I'll take a non-fiction book, a fiction book, usually a choice of 2 fiction books, and then I'll see how I go. I mean, I usually buy stuff while I'm out as well, but yeah, if I go on holiday, I usually take those. And then I've got options then, and I put them in my rucksack with my clothes, and there's a little pocket in the rucksack to put books. So it's very, very good. So I tend to do that. Number 9, the origination culture. What are your favourite pop culture references to ancient cultures? Well, I quite like this question because it gives me a chance to mention the best thing I can think of, which is a reference to the Roman world, and it's clearly pop culture, and that is Life of Brian. Monty Python's Life of Brian. Every scene is amazing. It's really funny. It hasn't dated. It's got some incredible things in it that only the Pythons would have done, like the jailer saying, "I know where to get it if you want it." You know, obviously always looking at bright side of life at the end of the film. But there's so many different scenes in it that are brilliant. So yeah, Life of Brian is my choice for that. But another one I will quickly mention, well, I think it's a really awesome film, and it definitely has a very clear reference to Roman world again, because that's one of the 3 possible places you could go, and that's Westworld, the film Westworld. I love the film Westworld. I think it's fantastic, and I also think it's quite amusing that Michael Crichton ripped himself off when he did Jurassic Park, because he'd already done Westworld, which is basically the same plot, but I like Westworld more. So anyway, Westworld, great film, written by Michael Crichton, and one of the worlds you can visit. You can visit Westworld, and you can visit the Roman world as well. There's a third one. I can't remember which one it is. There's another world you can visit. Why has that escaped me? Don't know. But anyway, yeah, Westworld, great film. Okay. Number 10, the Minoans establish trade routes and tag some YouTubers, some booktubers. All right, so with this one, I think loads of people have done this, and it's a very interesting one to do. There's quite a range of different kinds of questions, and I'm literally thinking now, and I think everyone I can think of has done this. And if they haven't, they've been tagged in it. So I'm not going to tag anyone. So I think this is the first time I've ever done a tag and not tagged anyone. But I think so many people have done it, it'll just be a bit silly. So anyway, that's my response to the Ancient Cultures tag. So anyway, thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and keep reading history books. It's really interesting, and I'll see you later. Bye.